If the streets of Seattle seem completely empty on Sunday, it's probably because everyone is at CenturyLink as the Sounders prepare to take on Toronto FC, 69,000 strong. Tickets sold out in minutes, and you know who that makes very happy, I imagine, MLS Commissioner Don Garber. Thanks for joining us here.
It does make me happy.
I was going to say, so you find out that in literally less than an hour, a historic amount of tickets have been sold out for your Cup final, and you're thinking what?
I'm thinking, this is a team that's earned the right to host the MLS Cup. It's had such a successful run, been in the playoffs every year since it existed, but never hosted the championship game. So I knew it would sell out. 20 minutes, I'm not quite sure I thought that.
Listen, it's well known across the league that the Sounders fans are arguably, I'd say Atlanta United fans are in there as well, some of the best. But when you think about that, when you think about a historic pace, people being interested in your game, what do you think it says about the popularity of the league in 2019?
It speaks to where our country is. America's become this great soccer nation, and the sport's growing from the bottom up, and MLS is driving a lot of that growth. Teams like the new LAFC in Seattle and Atlanta and Toronto, and all those clubs are building this great fan culture. And then now finally we have a game on ABC, which is the first time we've been on ABC in many years. The sport's got a lot of momentum, and MLS is driving that. And in many ways, it's kind of capitalizing on some of this real euphoria and excitement about the sport of soccer in our country.
And you're building so much equity amongst celebrity owners as well. We know Russell Wilson is
That's
involved,
fun.
right?
Yeah.
We know Will Ferrell's involved. Why do you think you're getting that kind of interest for your sport?
It speaks to value. MLS teams are growing in value. We're expanding quite rapidly. James Harden just bought into our team in Houston. Russell and his wife Ciara are involved in MLS. Macklemore, the rock star, and you're seeing more and more people that are seeing value in Major League Soccer, and pop culture and soccer kind of have always been sort of interlinked. And when you start seeing celebrities, Magic Johnson coming to games and going crazy with Will Ferrell and Banc of California at LAFC Stadium, that speaks to sort of the where soccer is today and where MLS is in driving a lot of that value and excitement.
And that value and excitement transcends really just the ownership. I mean, I think that you could say your most casual soccer fan knows Zlatan Ibrahimovic. He is certainly a huge name, and you know that. How important is he, and how strong of an effort will you guys make to keep him in MLS?
Zlatan is such an interesting guy. I mean, he keeps my hands full,
Sure,
right, and my
of course.
inbox full. But, he's a thrill a minute. And, you need to have those guys that are breaking through the clutter like David Beckham did in our early days. And a 38-year-old guy who now is being recruited by AC Milan, one of the top clubs in the world. So he has, almost set records with how many goals he's scored over the last 2 years. And he's exciting on and off the field, right? He certainly keeps our hands full. But at the end of the day, I'd love to see him back. But that's going to be up to the LA Galaxy. I'd sort of have enjoyed the Zlatan moments, particularly when he speaks to me in the third person.
In the third person. Right. Or my personal favorite, whenever I'm doing any of their highlights, and the shirt inevitably will come off at some point, and he'll show that he's certainly putting in work at the gym. Speaking of putting in work, we all know that a big part of the contingency and what drives fan interest is nationally the team being very good. And we're obviously, when we talk about the men's national team, they've been on a bit of a downturn. How important is qualifying for that 2022 World Cup in terms of what you guys do in MLS?
Qualifying is absolutely imperative. We must qualify for the next World Cup. And, the team sort of develops in cycles. So while there is a lot of pressure on Greg Berhalter and his players now, it really matters when do they go through qualification, how are they going to do in those qualifying matches. We are still ranked number 2 in CONCACAF after Mexico. I've got faith in Greg Berhalter. He's a great MLS player. He's a great MLS coach. And he's got a lot of young players. Christian Pulisic, who has been lighting it up at Chelsea the last couple of weeks. Jordan Morris playing in an MLS Cup this Sunday, doing well for our national team. A lot of young American players in our league driving the national team's success, we hope. So the pressure's on. There's no doubt about that.
You mentioned Beckham. How's the progress in Miami?
It's going really well. I mean, David's a remarkable guy. He's spent a lot of time with you folks at ESPN. I'm sure he will again as their team begins. Inter Miami will launch coming up next season, in the 2020 season. David's very, very involved, talking to players. He created the brand. He created the logo. This is a guy that has transcended the playing field into the boardroom in doing ways that I've been very impressed with. So David's doing great. Their team is going to launch next year with Nashville, Both will be playing in very unique temporary facilities until they build their new stadiums in 2021-22.
Do you foresee guys like a Beckham using their name and equity to court to the MLS, a guy like a Ronaldo or a Messi?
I do. I mean, that's what's so special about David. And by the way, he did that when he was at the Galaxy, and we saw Thierry Henry come to this league because he had a conversation with Beckham back 4, 5, 6 years ago. So I think David is out there speaking to lots of players, but as importantly, and I know you know this because you know our game, he's very involved in the academy down in Miami. They're recruiting very young players. Their academy has been going on for a year now with a team that's not going to play till next year. Combination of great young players in a very hot, very strong soccer market with some international guys that I'm sure David will bring in.
Let's go macro. Where do you envision this league being in the next decade?
Well, it's going to be a lot bigger. We'll be 30 teams, and we'll have, 5 new teams coming in the next 3 or 4 years with Atlanta, Nashville, Sacramento, maybe our 30th team coming in, a market that'll be announced shortly. Miami, obviously, coming in. We'll have many more stadiums. We just broke ground on our 20th stadium. Later this week, we're going to break ground on an academy in Cincinnati. The new Minnesota stadium just opened up this year. So I would envision 22, 23, 24 soccer stadiums. And then maybe like in Seattle and like in Atlanta, there might be an NFL team that might be able to sell 30, 40, 50,000 tickets. So the most important thing is I think you're going to see the league grow in popularity, build a lot of momentum as we lead up to the World Cup in 2026. United States, Mexico, and Canada, one of the biggest sporting events, if not the biggest in the world during this decade. So there's going to be so much excitement, and MLS is going to be in the center of it. So somebody like you who's a fan will be able to have that much more to be able to get excited and passionate about.
And that's the long term. In the short term, you get a rubber match in the MLS Cup Championship. That is about as good as you could ask for, Toronto FC and Seattle, and from 69,000 strong. Commissioner Garber, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.